Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to the Point. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. Another beautiful day. Great weekend coming up. We have a lot to dive into before we get there. Today on the show, we are going to discuss the Celtics beating the Pacers at the TD Garden last night, getting a 2-0 series lead. We're also going to look at the French Open, which starts on Sunday morning in Roland Garros. The final tournament for the King of Clay, Rafael Nadal. I'll go through the odds for the men and women's draws and why it's interesting going in. I thought some interesting numbers on who's going to win the whole thing. So we'll go through those odds via FanDuel Sportsbook later on in the program. We're also going to talk Memorial Cup. Kicks off tonight in Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw, Drummondville, Moose Jaw, and the favorites via FanDuel Sportsbook, the London Knights. We'll preview the tournament. We'll talk about the players to watch going in and all of that later on in the program. But let's get this party started with a thoroughly entertaining game last night between the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. Game one, and I said this yesterday, I really didn't have a feel for how this series was going to start because Edmonton, while they had won the last two games against the Vancouver Canucks, Dallas is a better team than the Vancouver Canucks. Edmonton had been a bit lethargic in the series, not playing totally up to par. And I just said, I want to see how this game goes. I did feel Edmonton would win because I think Edmonton would win the series. And I think it was pivotal for Edmonton to win last night. If you missed the game, what are you doing? But they did. The Edmonton Oilers win the game 3-2 in double overtime, game-winning goal via Connor McDavid, aka the best player in the world. But if you go through the totality of the game, I really liked Edmonton's game. I think if you're a Dallas Stars fan, you go and you don't hate that effort either. You look around and go, well, it was a frantic game. A lot was happening. An incredible pace. We kept up with Edmonton. At times, we carried the play. I thought in the first period, Dallas was the better team. But I think if you played the way the game went, 9 out of 10 times, Edmonton's going to win that game. And the reason I say that is, at times, the game was completely out of control. Speed everywhere, people flying around, big hits, open ice plays. And yet, Edmonton ended with more shots and shot attempts and more offensive zone time than the Dallas Stars. Jake Ottinger faced more opportunities. Stuart Skinner, who I'll talk about later, was sublime. But Dallas had some good looks, and it was a close game, and when it went to double overtime, for God's sake. But I think if you're Edmonton, you leave the game going, hey, we played a game that was frantic at times, and yet I think they defended extremely well, and that's what stood out to me. The last 3 games, Edmonton has been the better defensive team than their opponent. And Dallas has a better defensive core than Edmonton. That's not my overall point. I think for Edmonton, you're seeing a full buy-in from the entire team of the way they're going to play. 2 times last night, McDavid blocked a shot that led to a 2-on-1 the other way. And one of those instances, it led to a Zach Hyman go-ahead goal. It's not just the grunts. It's not just the guys who need to do it at the bottom of the lineup. I think you're seeing a team buy-in defensively that's leading to guys like a Warren Fogle, who I thought had his best game of the postseason last night. He's been quiet. He was flying all over the ice. He was great. And Edmonton did this in about December and January. If you recall, they won 17 straight games. Probably the most incredible run of the regular season. And in that period, they were scoring goals, but it was more about team defense. It was more about getting saves. And of course, Connor McDavid being Connor McDavid. But if the Edmonton Oilers can play with speed and yet have the thought, have the ability to play that well defensively, not be reckless, they're going to be okay. They're going to win this series because they're more talented. Because they have more ways that they can beat you. If McDavid is doing it, and he's doing it, the entire team buys in. Leon Draisaitl back-checking last night. They believe that they can win, and they should have that belief. And you're seeing a better Evan Bouchard. We've talked about the product as a whole, but he was really solid again last night for the Edmonton Oilers. Vinny Desharnais, Darnell Nurse, they weren't a problem. That can't always be said. Sometimes they're on the ice and you look up and go, whew. Vinny Desharnais played 23 minutes last night. Yeah, the game goes to double overtime. That's still a ton of minutes. A lot of things can go wrong when you're on the ice that long. Looking at Darnell Nurse, he played 26 minutes and 47 seconds. Didn't have any problems when on the ice. Solid game. Bouchard played 31. Ekholm, 31 minutes. Edmonton, while CC, Kulak, Desharnais aren't exactly household names, aren't defensive stalwarts, if you will, they have two aces, Bouchard and Ekholm. They're extremely different players, but Ekholm was a changer last year for this team. He made them a hell of a lot better. He makes up for Bouchard's mistakes. He's the Slavin of the Edmonton Oilers. And he's incredibly valuable to that team's success. You might think I'm giving these bouquets to Edmonton. They win a game in double overtime. I get it. But if you watch that third period, they dominated. Dallas scored a goal because they got a bounce and Sagan put it into the empty net. And the game ends up going to double overtime. And they could have lost the game 100 times, including when McDavid got called for a double minor 30 seconds into overtime, but they kill it off. And that's another thing. The penalty kill. Aggressive. They're not letting Dallas set up. They're in the lanes. Great sticks. Dallas never really had an optimal opportunity on the power play last night. They couldn't get set up. And when they did, Stuart Skinner was locked in and made the big saves. I liked Edmonton's game a lot. And it doesn't surprise me McDavid scores the game winner because McDavid is that guy. He's the best player on the planet. He was buzzing the entire night. He assisted on the Zach Hyman goal, who has 13 goals in 14 playoff games, which is incredible. But if Edmonton can blend their game and do what they did last night, they are going to win this series. And they'll be in really good shape moving forward. Playing well, minimizing errors, in good positions offensively and defensively. For Dallas, first 30 minutes of the game, you could argue they were better. The Dadonov, Jamie Benn, Sagan line seemed to be a problem whenever they're on the ice. They had a lot of offensive zone time, really outmuscled people for pucks, and Tyler Seguin scored a pair of goals last night. I thought the kid, Logan Stankoven, was great as well. First conference final game, big moment. I thought he impressed me. Always around the puck, always in the offensive zone. He played 21 minutes. That's a lot for that young a player. And I thought he did well. But I think if you're Dallas, it was few and far between. Seguin was good. Ben had a good game. Dadonov, Jason Robertson was okay. But you're going down. Wyatt Johnson was a quiet game for him. I don't think he was particularly great. Duchesne, quiet performance. Heiskanen played a ton of minutes, played 33. Led both teams in ice time. But I didn't notice him as much creating opportunities for the back end, helping out the forwards. For Dallas, I think you look at Ottinger and go, that Hyman goal can't go in, which it can. It's a bad goal. However, which way you want to cut it up, that can't go in. He was in bad position. He let that one go by him. And that's a frustrating one. So look at that head on. Opening goal of the game. Kind of a frantic play. He doesn't have it's a block shot. Goes the other way. Draisaitl puts it in the empty net. So he's not wearing that one. And then in overtime, a great deflection by Connor McDavid. Stuart Skinner was better than Ottinger in game one. Now, at their best, Ottinger's the better goalie. But we'll see how he responds. He wasn't great in the conference finals last year against Vegas. He had his moments where you go, well, where are you? What are you doing in this moment? If I'm Dallas, you can play that game again. And maybe you get better results, but I don't think you're going to. In game 2, if I'm Dallas, I want to mix it up early. Make it physical. Get the Oilers frustrated a little bit. You saw Evander Kane. He took a stupid penalty in the first period last night. He will take more stupid penalties if provoked. And I think Jamie Benn, he can be the catalyst of that because he likes to engage. I think the pace was so incredible in the first period that you saw that Edmonton can maintain it because Edmonton's faster. They're younger. They have more guys that can play that way. Dallas got a little more tired towards the end of the game. Even in that third period, they got outshot 13-4 in the third. Like I said, Seguin scoring brought the game to overtime, but it was one-way traffic in that period. So I think slowing the game down, playing it at your pace, is key for the Dallas Stars. Because Edmonton's fine playing that way. If they can play that fast and still have the wherewithal, still have the thought to defend and be in good positions, and Stuart Skinner makes a key save when he has to, they're going to win. But I thought it was paramount for Edmonton to win that game last night. You're the road team in the series. You start game one with a road victory. Goes to double overtime. So many things can go wrong. And you find a way to win. It was one of the more entertaining games of the playoffs. Any game. That first period must have took, 18 minutes? It was that fast. Pucks everywhere, bodies flying everywhere. Rupe Hintz did not play last night, as I reported yesterday. Sounds like he's getting closer. He could be available for the Dallas Stars in Game 2. That would help. Just having another center with some skill, with some ability to do a number of different things, opens doors for Dallas, gives them more options. I would expect Wyatt Johnson to have a better game. He's a really good player, and I thought he got pushed to the outside a little too much last night. Just wasn't around the puck as much as you're used to seeing with him. He's normally in the middle of the ice. He's normally creating havoc. But I also look at, McDavid, Draisaitl. The knock on them, yeah, they're skilled players, but they're not willing to buy in. They don't play the way that you have to win. And I think some of that criticism was fair because, yeah, they had never won, but at least they had gone on runs. You're seeing it this year. McDavid, Draisaitl. McDavid's not cheating for offense. McDavid's competing. He's going into the corners. He ends up with 2 points last time, but that wasn't the key of the game. It was just about being in the right position at the right time to make a play. And he did. Getting beat up, people coming at him, he doesn't care. Find a way to have an impact. Draisaitl scores a goal, but then back checks in overtime on a huge play to get the puck back so you can make a change efficiently. I love seeing that because it's critical to winning, and they fully believe it now. They are in. Even an Evan Bouchard caring more, having a little more discipline in his own zone to make the correct play. That goes a long way. You need that. You need everybody to care. You need everybody to believe, and then something special might happen for you. When we talk on Sunday, a pair of Game 2s will be played. We got Panthers, Rangers tonight at the Mecca. We'll have Edmonton, Dallas tomorrow night, Hockey Night in Canada. I would expect that when we talk on Sunday that we're going to have a couple splits because I think these series are so close. The Rangers, listening to their media, they believe the game was pretty close. I don't think the game was that close. You can have a score being 1-0 and the game not being close at all. Imagine a baseball game and it's 1-0. And one team has 9 hits and you have 1. The starting pitcher is owning you. Is that a close game? Not to me it isn't, because you're not close to scoring. You're not close to getting even. The Rangers had minimal moments in game 1. A few times you could look at them and go, wow, that was threatening. Wow, they might score a goal here. Other than that, it was pedestrian at best. So I expect them to have more of a punch, have more speed, have a little more oomph about them. Kreider to have a response, have that team ready to play with energy, with enthusiasm to go out there and do battle with the Florida Panthers. Now, Florida's not going to give up the game. They know the way they want to play. They know the way that they need to play in order to beat the New York Rangers. But I believe Rangers will have better opportunities. They'll come out jumping tonight, and they get a win. And I think Dallas will beat Edmonton on Saturday. Because Dallas is talented. And Dallas could have won easily last night, even though Edmonton I thought was the superior team. When you have a game that goes to double overtime, anything can happen. Hits off a shin pad, goes in the back of the net. That's a goal. Oh, game's over. We lost. You won. Bully for you. But great, I think 2 really good series. That's what you're looking at. 2 really good series, 4 extremely good teams. I think this is a year where you look up and go, wow, we got the 4 best teams in the conference finals, and that's all you can really ask for. And for me, seeing Crosby win, let me put it this way. Seeing Crosby go on the way to winning, go round after round, you have to overcome obstacles and kind of overcome doubt, if you will. To me, that's what I love seeing with Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. How are they going to win? Can they win? Can they get past the Dallas Stars? Can they adjust their game? Okay, they've done it for 3 straight games. Can they do it for 7 more wins? Jake Ottinger, will he goalie them away from getting to a Stanley Cup final? Like he did with McDavid on that paddle save in overtime. What a save, by the way. Save of the playoffs. But when you have the best players in the world, McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're close to ultimately winning it all, there's something special about watching that. 2 elite talents trying to achieve something that they've been pushing for together for a long time. And it's not lost on me. You see Connor McDavid score the OT winner, and it was as if he was playing basketball in the back of the house. Oh, he made a 3. Great. Pick up the ball. Let's start shooting again. They were happy. He was happy they won, but I think he knows we still got work to do. But at the same time, you're 7 games away from winning the Stanley Cup. And unlike the conference final he played against Colorado a couple years ago, he has a lead in this series. And I think internally, they think they're better than the Dallas Stars. That they have more ways that they can win. And I don't think he's incorrect in that opinion. But it's phenomenal to watch. Game 2, Panthers-Rangers tonight at the Garden. Game 2, Edmonton-Dallas tomorrow night in beautiful Dallas, Texas. Before we move off of the NHL, I'm watching the games last night, and I get this report from Elliot Friedman. Carolina Hurricanes GM Don Waddell has been given permission to interview with the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's interesting. His contract's coming to an end, but Donnie Waddell has been in Carolina for a minute, has built some really good teams under difficult circumstances, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the Hurricanes, they keep Rob Brind'Amour, which is great, but they're letting Don Waddell walk in free agency, and the Blue Jackets are searching for a general manager and a president. They need hockey ops people. And here are my thoughts on this. Number one, I think it's incredibly stupid that the Hurricanes are letting Don Waddell just leave. I think he's a good general manager. Look at what Carolina has done. He's gotten talent. He's made good draft picks. They have more talent coming with guys like Bradley Nadeau from UMaine. Aside from goaltending, which is not entirely his fault, because again, sometimes it's about ownership and what you're willing to spend, which I'm going to get to. I think Don Waddell has done an incredible job. If I'm comparing Don Waddell, who has limited resources in Carolina, with what you can spend and what you can do, and Kyle Dubas in Toronto. Just because you hear about Kyle Dubas every 4 seconds, that does not mean Kyle Dubas is better at the job than Don Waddell is, and he isn't. Donnie Waddell has built a team that got to a conference final. Kyle Dubas built a team that, could pay rent. So many GMs that he's outperformed, that get paid more. Old Ottawa Senators, Pierre Dorian, pretty decently paid there a long damn time. Didn't do anything. Missed the playoffs year after year after year. Oh, ownership. We don't know what's happening. All I know about Tom Dunn is I like him because he likes to wear shorts, but he's a cheap fuck. So, that's not easy to work with. Columbus, on the other hand, should hire him, and this is why I think it'll work. The rap on Columbus is nobody wants to play there. And I can't blame anybody not wanting to play there. Number one, because you got to play for the Blue Jackets. Number two, you got to live in Ohio. And I don't want to do either. But if I'm Columbus, I go, okay, Don Waddell just coached the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes is not a hockey hotbed. It's not exactly, we got to go to Carolina. Some people might say we got to go to Florida. We got to get that nice weather. But you're not stopping in Raleigh. You're not stopping in Myrtle Beach to vacation more often than not. So he's built that into a hell of a program. He hired one of the best coaches in the NHL, maybe the best coach in the NHL. So, all that being said, why wouldn't you work in Columbus? Small market, limited resources with an owner who's not willing to spend as much money on, a team, say, like an Edmonton or a Toronto or the Rangers. You're capped. You can only spend so much money on people and analytics and all these different metrics that can help you win. and on the ice. But he's hired good people that ran drafts in Carolina. He's put together good teams. He helped them kind of turn over their image. And I think he's a logical hire. I think it's incredibly stupid if the Hurricanes let him leave. If you have an inferiority complex about yourself and you make that evident, everybody knows it. That's as a human being any time in life. For me, if you're Columbus, you have to show confidence on the outside. Let the public think that you're a trash organization and nobody wants to go there. But you can make it work. You can change that image and that opinion if you're willing to do the work. If you bring in good talent. David Jiricek, a guy I like a lot in the back end. Do they trade Kent Johnson this summer? Johnny Gaudreau is there. I don't know if it's a positive or a negative, but he's on the team. So, it's not a great team right now. They need a lot of work. They're not close to being competitive. But if Don Waddell is available, to me, he's as good as anybody to become the next general manager, the next president of hockey ops for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Because he's proven what he can do in a small market and help them improve their image and get better as a team. So Carolina cheaps out a lot on people. Rob Brendamore bailed them out. They clearly don't want to pay Don Waddell. And I just think it's stupid. It's a bad way of doing business. Lose a good person for no reason. That's good at the job. That Brendamore trusts. There's some negatives there. World Hockey Championships, quarterfinals yesterday. We talked about that as the show was wrapping up. Team Canada advanced to their 9th straight semifinal at this event, defeating Slovakia 6-3 in really an easy victory for Canada. Nick Paul with a pair of goals. Bedard did get on the score sheet. But Canada's tests are coming. They will meet Switzerland for the second time in the tournament on tomorrow morning. It's a noon puck drop. They beat the Swiss in the round robin, but Switzerland, as we talked about, has a really good team. They edged Germany 3-1. The first time Switzerland's gotten to the semifinals at this tournament, I think, in over 10 years. So great run for them with Yossi and Hischier and Leonardo Giannoni, who's been really good between the pipes. The host, Czechia, upset the United States in the afternoon yesterday. A 1-0 victory with a goal from Pavel Zacha, who came over, played with Boston. They lose that series. He comes over, shot from the point, puck hits him in the middle of the crest, bounces in the back of the net. Dustel was great. They made blocking shots down the stretch of the game. They defeat a very good U.S. team. So Czechia will play Sweden in the first quarterfinal tomorrow. Sweden beats Finland in overtime on the power play. Finland defended. They blocked shots, were in it. But ultimately the skill of Sweden prevails. Canada, I think, will beat Switzerland. They're playing really well. They have great cohesion. They're really good at this tournament. I give the guys credit. When they call them, they come over and they want to win and they're ready to play and they're prepared. And credit to John Tavares, because I find he's playing very well for Canada, much to the chagrin of Maple Leafs fans. But Canada should beat Switzerland. Czechia, Sweden, I think Czechia will want to play the game that Finland did, just come up with a better result. Find ways to score a goal when you have an opportunity. Use the crowd to your advantage. Hope guys like Pasternak, like Neckash, can have an impact on the game. Dushdell be really good between the pipes. Sweden's loaded. Sweden's got a hell of a team, and they haven't lost a game yet. Now, to be fair, Czechia hasn't lost a game in regulation. Both their losses coming in the gimmick or overtime. Sweden's better, but I think Czechia is going to win. That crowd is something else in Prague. They are loud. They are engaged. They love it. Dushdell's been fantastic over the course of the entire tournament. And I think it's going to be Canada, Czechia in the final. And it's been happening a lot in international hockey. World Juniors in Halifax, Canada, Czechia. Quarterfinal at the World Juniors in Sweden this past year. Czechia beats Canada. They've won on a lot of deep runs. They're improving as a nation. They have a lot of good hockey players. But at home, those players coming over, you can tell it means a lot to them. Jaromir Jagr in the building watching on. Either way, they'll be stoked because they're playing for a medal on their home ice. But I think they'll upset Sweden more. It'll be Canada, Czechia going for gold on Sunday. We'll talk about that on Sunday as well, before the puck drop of that game. Let's go from Prague, Czech Republic, to France. The French Open begins on Sunday. The draw came out yesterday. And it sure seems like it's going to be the last French Open for the King of Clay, the best one-surface tennis player of all time, Rafael Nada. Federer is great on grass. Djokovic is great on grass, hardcore, he's great on everything. But nobody's better on just one surface than Nadal in the history of tennis. Serena in the women's game on hard courts, doesn't matter. He's the best, Rafael Nadal. And he was kind of up in the air if he was going to play. He's been dealing with a lot of health issues, trying to come back. Played in the Italian Open last week. He lost in the first round. And the draw comes out, and Nadal, an unseeded player obviously, gets fourth ranked Sasha Zverev in the first round. Zverev won the Italian Open, one of the biggest victories of his career. He's got momentum coming into the French Open. He's up to fourth in the world. He played Nadal a couple years ago at this event, went in the semifinal, went 4 sets, and ultimately Zverev had to pull out because he broke his ankle in the middle of the fourth set, tore ligaments, and they had to wheel him out of there on a wheelchair. So a rematch, possibly Nadal's last match. Zverev playing great tennis coming in on clay, all kinds of confidence. And you hear all of that, you say Nadal's advanced age, he's not playing a whole lot of tennis, and I still can't rule him out. Because he's the king of clay. because of just his prowess and how much I respect him on this surface. That match, sounds like it's going to take place on Sunday. Zverev's a minus 450 on FanDuel. Nadal, you can get Nadal plus 280 right now to win. I think Sasha should win, but I'm intrigued by the match. It's nice to get a first round where you go, wow, you have the best clay court player ever, and you have Zverev, who's an up-and-coming talent, who's might be right up there with the best men's tennis player currently active to not win a major. Zverev, Tsitsipas will be put into that discussion as well. But he's got all the tools, big serve, great forehand, aggressive, has gotten to major finals before but couldn't put it all together. But it's pressure for him as well because you're playing Nadal at the place he loves the most. Yes, he's compromised. No, he's not what he used to be. But it's still pressure because you're expected to win this match. You're an overwhelming favorite against the best clay court tennis player of all time. But I'll be watching that match. I'm stoked to see it. Because the French Open is my least favorite major of the four. Because I just find the clay is not as entertaining a surface to watch tennis as the others. But I still love tennis, and you get geared up for the majors, and you're going to watch it. And when you get to say, hey, we got Nadal and Sasha Zverev in the first round, that's a nice sell. Also in the first round, you get former major champions towards the tail end of their careers, but one of them's got to win. Stan Wawrinka, former champion at Roland Garros, and Andy Murray meeting in the first round on the men's draw. Love it. Love that. Entertaining matchup, two really good players. Looking at the men's draw, Carlos Alcaraz is the favorite to win the French Open at plus 260. He's never won a French Open. He's never gotten to a French Open final, which is surprising to me that he's the favorite. Djokovic follows him at plus 310. Djokovic was beaten early in Rome, was beaten early at the Italian Open, but he's still Novak Djokovic. He's competing in a tournament this week prior to the event, which he normally doesn't do. And he's currently in the third set in a match against Machak, a Czech Republic-born player. We'll see what he can do. If he wins, he'll likely play Casper Ruud in the final of that event tomorrow. But you get Djokovic plus 310, followed by Jannik Sinner, the champion down under, won the Miami Open, didn't lose a match until March of this year. Great on every surface, but the clay, not exactly his cup of tea. Then you have Sasha Zverev at plus 700. Stefanos Tsitsipas, who's gone to a final here twice, but hasn't won yet, at plus 950. Casper Ruud, who's been to a final twice as well, plus 1,400. Rublev, Medvedev, you can get Rafael Nadal at plus 2,900 right now on FanDuel Sportsbook. Here's what's great about the men's game. You got a lot of really good players. Because Djokovic is not unbeatable anymore. Sinner beat him up down under. Sinner can overcome anything. Sinner is great, but I think Sinner on hard courts, that's where you want to see him play. That's where he's at his best, or grass. Alcaraz is phenomenal. Probably the most entertaining player, men or women, playing the game of tennis right now. If I was going to tell somebody, oh, I don't watch tennis, who should I watch? I would say go watch Carlos Alcaraz. Because he can do everything. He'll hit drop shots, he can hit fast, he'll run across the court, he'll make a shot that you never thought was even humanly possible. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to be bored watching tennis, and he won't make. He will keep you thoroughly entertained. As I think of a prediction here, you have major champions who don't have great odds because Medvedev, the clay court is not meant for him. That's why he's at plus 2,800. And I don't think he'll win. Rublev at plus 27, I think you can get good odds with that. Rublev's a really good player. Can lose his focus sometimes, gets angry. But he's very talented. He's had good results on the clay. So, going from Casper Ruud at plus 1,400 to Rublev at plus 2,700, I don't understand that jump. Casper Ruud, past 2 years, has gotten to the French Open final and lost both times. Once to Rafael Nada and once to Novak Djokovic. As I mentioned, he might be playing Djokovic tomorrow if they both win their respective matches prior to the French Open. Great style for this. Slow the pace down a bit. Really good forehand. Can make things happen. He's a good pick. My pick to win the tournament is Stefanos Tsitsipas. He loves the clay courts. He is extremely talented, but he hasn't been able to put it all together yet. And I look at him and go, why not now? It's more wide open for the men than maybe it ever has been. And it might sound like hyperbole, but think about it. You had Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic in their primes for 20 years. And you throw in an Andy Murray cameo. It was impossible to win. It was incredibly impressive to see guys like Juan Martín del Potro win an event, win a U.S. Open. Break through, Dominic Thiem win a U.S. Open. Sinner is the second player in the world. And Sinner is fantastic. He could win this. Grigor Dimitrov at number 10 in the world is a really good player. Auger-Aliassime has all the tools. Could he put it together? Unlikely. Ben Shelton. Tsitsipas got Martin Fucsovics in the first. Tsitsipas is ranked 9th. To me, for some reason, he loves this event. He plays his best tennis in France. And I think he's going to bring it. And I think you'll look at it at the end of the day and go, this is where he plays his best. Djokovic, and I'll regret saying this, I don't think Djokovic is getting to the final. I don't. He's great. The best of all time. Could easily go on a run. But I think one of these younger guys is going to take him down before he gets there. And watch him win it and not lose a set throughout the entirety of the tournament. But I don't think Djokovic is getting to a major final at the French. Doesn't mean he's done, because I think he will and should be the favorite at Wimbledon. But we'll see. Alcaraz. Alcaraz plays such an entertaining style, but the problem for me with him is he plays a lot of long matches, a lot of sets, and he starts to wear down towards the tail end of the tournament. And guys are just more fresh. They're ready to play, and he's kind of wearing down. He doesn't have that oomph anymore to keep going. So while Carlos, I will watch more matches of his than any other player at Roland Garros, I don't believe that he'll win, because you're going to run into guys, play a 5-set match, overcome it, but then eventually a fresher opponent will be there, and his fitness will be better than yours because he's just not as tired. And Sinner won his first major in Australia. He's great. He's going to win more because he's that talented and he's so young. But it's not easy to win majors all the time. Federer, Djokovic, these guys are rare breeds. Sinner might win another one this year, but it won't be the French. But I think it should be fun. A lot of talent on the men's side, and it's kind of a role reversal. Because I think the men, you could go with 10 deep of guys that could win this tournament. I don't think it's crazy if you pitched it. On the women's side, I think there's only 4 women that I think could win this event. And some unranked wild card could go on a run like Elena Ostapenko did in 2017. But I don't see it happening. Carlos plus 260, Djokovic plus 310. We look at the women. Iga Swiatek, who's won the last 2 French Opens, who won in Rome, who won in Italy, the 2 Masters 1000s events, is not a plus anything. She's a minus 160 favorite to win the French Open. She's been given that much respect as the new Queen of Clay. She's the number 1 player in the world, won multiple majors, has had a great career, still getting better. But Iga Swiatek is looked at as, yeah, she's the standard. And I can't disagree with it, in particular on clay, because she is the standard. She is the best. Her first match, I don't know if they've announced her opponent yet, but she will have a good draw. She's number 1 player. She'll have to avoid some tough matchups, so she'll only get the second favorite player, Arina Sabalenka, in the final if she gets there. Sabalenka and Swiatek played each other last weekend in Italy, and Swiatek won that match in straight sets. Sabalenka coming off winning the Australian Open for the 2nd straight year. She made the semifinal at the French last year, the semifinal at least at Wimbledon, and also a semifinal at the US Open. To me, she's the 2nd best player in the world consistently. She's game, she's dialed in. But my 4 that I really think have a great chance: Swiatek, Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, plus 800. Coco Gauff was in the French Open final last year. And Alina Rybakina, a former champion at Wimbledon, who is just a game player. She can do a big serve, can do a lot of different things. Doesn't seem to get rattled. But other than those 4 women, I look up and go, who else is going to win here? Who's a threat? And as I go back on FanDuel just to look at other odds for you, it's overwhelming. Schweintek to the rest. Danielle Collins at plus 2,300. She's had a good season so far. The American. Ons Jabber at plus 2,800. I would never bet on her. She's never won a major. Seems to find a way to lose in the biggest moments. Qinwen Zhang, plus 3,300, who made the final in Australia. Osaka at plus 3,700. Yelena Ostapenko, former champion, plus 3,800. Svitolina at plus 5,000. Marketa Vondrousova plus 6,000. No Jessica Pegula, who you could have got at plus 6,500. She is out with an injury. She'll miss a major for the first time in 19 tries. Said she hopes to be back to play at Wimbledon. And I think this is a calculated decision by her. She knows that clay is her worst surface, like it is for many players. And you'd rather be available for the grass and hard court season in the summer, where she'll have the best chance to potentially break through and finally win a major. She's gone on a lot of deep runs at Wimbledon. She's had some success at the All England Club. But get healthy, recuperate, come back, ready to go. If anybody was wondering, so I thought about this, somebody you've never heard of in a long time. Bianca Andreescu is playing at the French Open. I had to look it up because I don't know, because she doesn't play tennis all that often. But she will be playing. Sounds like her match will be on Sunday. Andreescu's much anticipated return to the court begins with meeting Sara Sorbis Tormo of Spain in the first round and could face world number 25 Anna Kasatkaya in round 2. So this is her comeback match, if you will. She hasn't been involved in any of the tune-up tournaments. So this is her just jumping into a major, seeing what happens, see what her stamina is like, what her health is. It's been a rough go of it for Canadian tennis as of late. Denis Shapovalov has been out with injuries, and he's lost a ton of matches. Made it to the round of 16 at the Geneva Open. He lost to Greek Spore. He will be playing another qualifier, Landon Van Asch of France, in the opening round match. Felix, who's been better, to be fair, lost to Alex de Minaur at the round of 32 in Italy. He gets Nishioka of Japan in his first round match. So Canadian tennis is not in a great spot, to say the least. Not a whole lot of great talent. Nobody that you think can really break through and win a major. Nobody playing particularly well at the moment. But Andreescu is coming back. She's playing at the French Open. Curious to see how she looks. Curious to see what kind of shape she's in. If she can win a match, if she can handle the rigors of the tournament. And yet forever, she will be the best Canadian tennis player of all time because she won a major. And she won the Canadian Open. That's all it really takes because it was so bad. She went on that run at the U.S. Open, and yeah, since it's been a pile of shit, and she's done more commercials than tennis matches. But hey, credit to her. But I got Schweintek winning for the women. I got Tsitsipas winning his first major for the men. But it all starts on Sunday in France. 2 weeks, the run to get a major. We'll be covering that over the next little bit. The Colonial started yesterday. Scotty Scheffler, struggling, shoots 2 over par, which to me is kind of to be expected. I did not expect him to play particularly well because he's got a lot going on. Just was arrested. If you missed it yesterday, it doesn't sound like they're going to drop the charges. It sounds like he's going to go to court, which is shocking to me because they had a press conference about it yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky. But he's on the course right now. He's through 6 holes. He's 1 under for the day, +1. So he will be scrapping and clawing to make the cut and make the weekend down at the Colonial. Currently, there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 men tied for the lead at 4 under par. Jordan Spieth is 5 under today through 7 holes to grab a share of that lead. You also have Matthew Neesmith, S.H. Kim, Martin Laird, Davis Riley, Brian Harmon, Tony Finau. You also have Keegan Bradley and Charlie Hoffman at 3 under. So right there lurking, Hayden Buckley in the mix. Morikawa will be out this afternoon. He's 2 under. So a lot of guys in the mix. A lot of guys. Should be an interesting couple days at the Colonial. We have the Colonial, the RBC Canadian Open next weekend. We just want to see guys in contention. But it shocked me to see the way the press conference for the Scotty Scheffler incident. I did not think that would be going to court, but it is. Good luck to Kentucky because based on the videos I've seen, I think Scotty Scheffler really didn't do anything wrong, and it's going to be hard to prove that he did. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. Before we wrap up today, the Memorial Cup starts tonight in Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw, the host, the London Knights, the OHL representative, the Moose Jaw Warriors, the representative for the WHL, and the Drummondville Voltigeurs, the representative for the Q. London, Moose Jaw, Drummondville all swept their opponent in the conference final, which is something else. Never happened before. These teams have been off for a week and a half, waiting for this tournament to start. And it does tonight with Saginaw, the host, playing Moose Jaw. There's a lot of good players in this tournament with interest, watching. Easton Cowan with London, obviously a Toronto Maple Leafs pick. OHL playoffs and OHL regular season MVP. 30-plus games with a point. He's been incredible. Great season. Helped his stock. Looks like he'll be a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs at the start of next year. But he gets a chance to cap off his junior career with a Memorial Cup, just like his potential future teammate, Mitch Marner, did. Sam Dickinson, player for the London Knights. Sam is projected to be a top 5 pick in the draft that starts in a little over a month. Can make things happen. Big player. Young, so he hasn't been, if you look it up and go London Knights statistics, he doesn't jump off the page because he's 17. Will be 18 on June 17th. But at over point per game this year for London, has 13 points in 18 playoff games. I just think really strong defense, 6'3", big kid. I'm curious to watch him and what what draft people think of him after it going in to the draft at the Sphere. Kasper Holtonen, Finnish player for the London Knights, San Jose pick, and this guy can shoot the puck. Played at the World Juniors, and to me, he's just known for shooting the puck. That's his thing. Just put him in a situation, and he can blow it by you. He'll be 19 on June 7th, teammates. His first year coming over to North America, was over a point per game player at 32 goals. How about this? In the playoffs, he gets better. 18 playoff games, 17 goals with 26 points. He's a blend because he'll mix it up. He'll get some penalties. He's a physical player, a big winger that can shoot the puck. I look at him and I kind of think he's got some Patrick Laine in him. He was a second-round pick, 36 overall in last year's draft. But he's an X factor for London. Good player that can do a lot of different things. London's got a lot of good players, let's be fair. Oliver Bonk on their defense. You look at the Dale Hunter behind the bench. They are the most known, most recognized organization in the CHL just for being consistently competitive. And to me, they're the favorite going in. Let's move to Moose Jaw. Let's start with Denton Mateychuk. Denton Mateychuk, really mobile defenseman, Columbus Blue Jackets pick, and has 30 points in the postseason for Moose Jaw. It's his last year of junior hockey in all likelihood. Was picked 12th overall by Columbus in the 22 draft. 75 points in 52 games in the regular season. 30 points in 20 games in the postseason. Played at the World Juniors this year. Could only play in 5 games because he got hurt. But to me, he's really good puck mover. Does have a good shot. Key to a power play. I'm curious to watch him play because he's another player for Columbus, along with a guy like Jiricek on the back end who could be their keys to the future on building a better, more successful team. Braden Yager. This is a guy who was talked about for a long time. Incredibly talented, but we don't know if he's going to be big enough. He's listed at 6 feet. I don't think he's 6 feet, but you lie about your height. But he had 95 points in 57 games. 27 points in 20 games in the playoffs. And he's been a dynamo really since joining the WHL. He's only played for Moose Jaw. Was taken 14th overall by the Penguins in last year's draft. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of skill, can make a lot of things happen. Matthew Savoy, also for Moose Jaw. Played for Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championships. 9th overall pick by Buffalo in the 22 draft. 20 years old now. Only played 23 games because he started the year with Buffalo. Played 6 games in the minors with Rochester. 47 points in 23 games. 24 points in 19 playoff games. He's dipped a bit in that production. If they're going to win, I think he has to be the best player. He's got to come out, own it, look like himself. Not to mention, Moose also has this player named Jagger Firkus, who I think will be front and center. 2nd round pick by Seattle in the 22 draft. You want to talk about a guy, 126 points in 63 games this year. 32 points in 20 games in the playoffs. Kid's talented. Was a bubble guy for the World Juniors. 20 years old now. Last kick at the can for him. Let's move to Drummondville. Drummondville is not a team full of high-end prospects. Alexei Gendron is a Philadelphia pick who's smart player, good shot, but you look at him and go, well, he's 20 years old, he's born in Switzerland, and he's a 7th-round pick. So he's not exactly, oh, this guy's awesome. He has his positives and negatives. Riley Mercer, brother of Dawson Mercer, except he's a goaltender. Undrafted, 20 years old, had a great season. 189 goals against average, 934 save percentage, has a 950 save percentage in the playoffs for Drummondville. He's been their nucleus. But again, not a guy that you expect to see. Ethan Gauthier, good player. But again, he was 37th overall pick by Tampa, 71 points this season, his 3rd in the queue. It's good, not great. Peter Repsick, another guy, played for a number of teams in the queue, has bounced around. Started in Cape Breton, then went to Charlottetown. Now he's on Drummondville. Undrafted 20-year-old. 16 points in 18 playoff games. Really good defensively. Smart, high IQ player. This team's built on guys that it's an old team with a lot of experience, and they play a team style. Luke Woodworth, captain of the team, Bridgewater, Nova Scotia native, 20 years old, has only played for Drummondville. 62 points, 62 games, real good, 24 and 19 in the playoffs. You're going to have a lot of guys in this team that probably won't play pro, but are good right now, and they have a really good sense of team about them. And I think they need to play a certain way if they're going to win, because nearly every other team in this tournament is more talented than them. Now, Saginaw, they made the conference final of the OHL. They lost to London in 6 games. So, close series. And you look at their team. Joey Willis, good player. Matthias Shapovalov, who played for Czechia at the World Juniors. He's one of the more important players. Hunter Height. Alex Christopoulos, a guy who's played in the OHL a long time, played for actually Windsor when they got to the Mem Cup last year. Owen Beck, Team Canada native. He's a Montreal Canadiens 2nd-round pick. Michael Misa, underager, exceptional status. You look at him, an interesting story, will be fun to watch in this tournament, in this event. You can call it a tournament. He's 17 years old, be 18 in February. 75 points, 67 games this year. Left winger. 11 points in 17 playoff games. So Saginaw, kind of like Drummondville, a little more team loaded, a lot of depth, a lot of different ways that they can beat you. I think Moose Jaw and London are going to play in the final, which is rare to say because the Q has dominated this tournament for a long time. And it's really not just me saying that because I'm from the Q area. The last number of years, it's just been domination. If you go through, so I'm on here just to give me a brief second to find this. So I go through the last little while. So 2018, Acadie Bathurst. 2019, Randa Huskies. Nothing in 2020, nothing in 2021 because of Anthony Fauci. 2022, St. John Sea Dogs. 2023, Quebec Rempart. That's 4 straight winners for the Q. The last OHL team to win a Memorial Cup were the London Knights back in 2016. So it's either Windsor or London, it seems, for the OHL. The WHL has not won a Memorial Cup since the Edmonton Oil Kings back in 2014. It's been a decade of failure for the WHL. Going back to that team, Curtis Lazar was the captain of the Edmonton Oil Kings back in the day. That's how long ago this was. But of the last 14, the Q have won 8 of the last 14 tournaments. The last 8 of the last 14 Memorial Cups. I think that's going to end. I think their 4 in a row will snap. Drummondville, great team. Good to be here. But I think Moose Jaw and London are more talented. They have more ways that they can beat you. And this tournament, it's so hard to predict because you're talking about kids and structure can break down. But I have the London Knights beating Moose Jaw in the final. Just that team's too good. Too many ways they can beat you. Dale Hunter behind the bench. They know what they're doing with that club. And I think Easton Cowan will win MVP of the tournament. So I'm looking forward to watching that. You got Moose Jaw and the host Saginaw tonight. You have an afternoon game tomorrow between Drummondville and the London Knights. So I'll be watching that. Be watching a lot of stuff this weekend. Like I said, Sunday we'll be back live to recap it all with all of you. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Hope you all have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Sunday. This is To The Point.